Rob Houghton, and welcome to another edition of the Million Dollar Career. The show is a thoughtful conversation with guests from all walks of life so that you too can build a $1 million career for yourself. So welcome to the show, Kim Smith. Kim is a producer with Morgan Marrow Insurance Agency based in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And want to continue from the last time we left off. Kim, you gave a very inspirational message to a lot of people. I've received a lot of emails, gotten phone calls from people in the insurance business, primarily people like yourself, a lot of single moms, a lot of young professionals wanting to know, what does it take for me to be like Kim? What does it take for me to go from account management or support and service to be a producer? It sounds so exciting. So I wanted to ask you a few things, but first of all, Kim, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Rob. I appreciate you having me on for a second time. It's always good to talk to you and let you know how I'm doing. You've always been adamant about following me and making sure I stay on my toes, and it actually pushes me to be better because I know you're coming for me at some point in time. So I got to be ready.
I'm watching you. I think you're the only person that I've placed with a client that I actively coach. Most people that I coach, it's people that are either outside of the industry or not affiliated with my clients, but I've really enjoyed kind of helping you along here over the last couple of years, actually.
Yes.
And so just bring our listeners up to what you've been up to since the last time we talked, which I guess is about, 4 or 5 months or so. How's things going?
Yeah. Well, everything is going pretty good. I'm trying to establish myself in the trucking industry. I'm basically building my own book of business. They're my clients, and it's a good feeling. It's going very well. I enjoy the interaction, the client relationships. Building client relationships is so important, and you can't treat them like a number or how much money you're going to get from them, because in the trucking industry it's like family anyway. So you got to be sincere when it comes to trucking. And so for me, it's the relationship building. I find ways to connect with them.
Yeah.
And
good. So it seems like, it definitely seems like you're making progress. I know I hear this anecdotal information from, hey, Rob, I did another deal. I got another big project. So I know it's going well for you. You're ahead of your numbers. It seems like a lot of people now, insurance agencies, clients and non-clients, individual people I talk with, are getting more engaged with the trucking industry. What is it about the trucking industry now that's just generating a lot of interest and attention?
Well, it's an opportunity on the trucker side. It's an opportunity to have your own business, run it. You're the boss. You're not answering to nobody unless you're working for a company. And if you are working for a company, you're just building your foundation for the ultimate goal for them is to have their own business. So it's that side. But on our side as insurance agents, this is a business that's not going away. It's in high demand. If you see the ports, those containers are stacked for all the merchandise and stuff coming into the United States, and it's got to be moved, and it's not going to go away. The pandemic basically maybe slowed it down for a little bit because of the fear of people had with public interaction, but we always need to eat. We always need clothes. We'll always need things. And truckers have been delivering it to us for forever, and it's just higher demands now.
Yeah. So I think you're right. I mean, the trucking business right now is probably running at like close to 100% capacity. So everybody that has a truck is probably busy, right?
Yes, they work around the clock. They practically live in their vehicles. They're,
Yeah.
gone for weeks at a time from their families, and
Wow.
they
Amazing.
give up a lot of their personal time. That's why
Yeah.
I make myself available beyond the regular 9 to 5. You can't be in the trucking industry and write insurance for the trucking industry and have this 9 to 5 mindset.
Really? So,
Especially if you're going to write trucking companies that are across the United States. It's
that's
I have to.
interesting because I could see your competitive advantage. I was going to ask you, like, why did people buy from you, and why are you so successful in this trucking industry in such a short period of time? You've only been doing it for, I mean, less than a year. I'm thinking, why do people buy from you? And I think you just hit on something. Seems like most insurance agencies, most producers, it's 9 to 5, 5 days a week. It's hard to get a hold of people. You get answering machines, voicemails, automated phone systems. But it really does seem like if you're available most all the time, weekends, 24/7, that's got to be attractive to a customer, right?
I think so, because truckers are not going to sit around and wait. If they are waiting on a load, they have to show proof that they have insurance. They got to show a lot of things. And if you've checked out and you're not
Yeah.
available, they're missing money. And if they're missing money, they're losing interest in what you bring to the table. So you have to have people involved and ready. You have to have people that understand the business
Yeah.
and the necessity of being available for these truckers, because the moment that they miss a load, they're not going to be pleased with you. You got to have a system in place that allows them to keep going.
So it seems almost like this is an insurance on demand business model. It seems like truckers will have insurance for a week and then they're off for a couple of days. They don't have insurance. So I don't understand it. Explain that to me and the listeners and the viewers, because it almost seems like you're describing an insurance on demand business model.
Yes. Well, the thing is with truckers, they have a Department of Transportation number, and that number is tied to their name. It's them as the individual. And they have a policy that is effective date is for a year. And if something happens within that year that their policy is canceled or something happens, they lose their authority and they're not able to pick up loads. So you have to stay on top of their game. You have to make sure that their payments are made, that their coverage is in place in order for them to get their loads. Because if they cancel, they start back as if they were a new venture. So if you've been in business for 5 years and your policy cancels due to, let's say, a mistake on our part, or they didn't make a payment or something, they start back over as a new venture and they have to work their way up again as a seasoned professional.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I thought you were talking about like a trucker would have insurance for 4 days and then cancel for 2 days and then get it back for 5 days and cancel for a day and get it back it's not like that. Right?
Oh no, if it would be, you would be talking to a bald-headed agent. That would drive me to drink, seriously. But no, the policy is for a year. But with truckers, they have 2 big expenses: their truck and the insurance. And it seems like,
Yeah.
I mean, it is expensive to be a truck driver. You got to pay for this truck, and then your insurance is between $15,000 and $25,000, depending on where you are in the state, what you're hauling, and it could go up depending. I mean, I've seen monthly payments at $29,000 a month. So depending on how big their company is, what they're hauling, where they're hauling from and to, all of that comes into play. So it's an expensive policy. It's not going to be some little, $500 policy. You're going to be looking at. So you have to make sure that if you're trying to get into this business as an insurance agent, know the business, because you will have a very frustrated trucker. And to be honest, it's word of mouth. You don't need to pay for leads in this business. Word of mouth will get you everything that you need to keep going. I wrote a gentleman a policy on Friday. By Tuesday, he had called and said, I got somebody for you. And I called him to get his information or what his business plan is. You got to be able to understand what they're looking for to be able to write the insurance for them.
You know, it seems like all truckers, no matter if they're from California, Florida, or Maine, or Michigan, they all have Southern accents, it seems like. I never could figure that out. Why do they all have Southern accents? It's like they're trying to sound like, they all sound like Chuck Yeager, you know? With that West Virginia deep Southern drawl. I think they're trying to mimic, even subconsciously, like Chuck Yeager with this airline pilot type, you know, Southern drawl. And I'm wondering, since you obviously have a deep Southern drawl, if that is one of your success factors, is they just like talking with a female with a Southern accent, all these truckers. Does that have anything to do with it, you think?
I don't know. I mean, right? I've had people compliment me on my voice, you know, before, but I think it's more of a sincerity. I think it's more of an ability to connect and an interest in your client. You know, some people will just, you know, write the policy and get off the phone and move on to the next one. I'm more about, how are you doing? Do you need help? Is everything okay? You know, and I ask them constantly, basically just checking in once or twice a month to see if they're having any issue, because they're in this truck. They're not sitting behind a desk. They don't have time to sit on the phone hoping somebody will pick up the phone. So I'll reach out to them and connect and ask, you know, but I do all this in the beginning process when I'm understanding their business module. You know, I want to know about their home life. They've got children who's depending on them, and it helps me for them to rely on me. And I tell them, rely on me. If you've got some issues or concerns, place it in my hands and let me, you know, I'll go to the FMCSA and find out if I mean, there's only so much I know I'm going over and above a regular agent would be, and some things that I can only guide them to what they need to do. But if I need to step in and help them, especially if they've explained to me what they're looking for, I'll go to bat and I'll try to get it resolved for them so they don't have to, so they keep making their money. And I feel like that'll help me with referrals and lifelong clients. I'm not here just to write a policy and hope he stays around for a year. I'm putting in an effort that I want their friends in the business, their family members. I want them to say, call Kim, she knows what to do and she'll help you. And that's what's building my clientele. Absolutely everybody that I have written has sent me one or two referrals.
Well, you know, it sounds like you're more than just a sales agent, an insurance sales producer. It sounds like you're more of a trusted advisor to these people, somebody that they can rely on.
I like to think so. Even when I'm out on the road, I see the disrespect that truckers get, even by, you know, just personal vehicles with people driving down the road. And I worry about them. You see accidents all the time where, you know, the tractor truck, the driver's either fallen asleep or had to try to avoid a vehicle and ended up crashing his own vehicle. And it's not a cheap vehicle that they're driving, and it's not easy to stop on a dime. So I do worry about them. So I try to do as much as I can on the ground. I'm in the trenches with them, trying to make sure that they just keep moving, that they make their payments on time, that they, you know, that they stay compliant. If they got things they're concerned about as far as trucking, I'll look on the FMCSA for them to see if I can help them.
Have you often wondered what it would be like to get behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler and take that baby out there for a spin on like 81 South or 95 South or something and honk that horn a little bit?
I've actually got behind the wheel of one. I had to sit on a lap to you know, change the gears. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, I grew up watching Smokey and the Bandit. You know, I loved the Big Rig and BJ and the Bear and all those people. It kind of glorified trucking for me. It did. And we used to ride by back in the day and talk on a CB radio, and get them to honk their horn. All of that is, you might get beat up now if you call them good buddy now, but, it's just something that I guess I've been fascinated with, didn't realize all of those memories would come into play as a child and into adulthood.
Yeah.
And especially now that female truckers are taking over, man.
Wait a minute, there's female truckers out there?
I probably ride more female truckers than I do men.
Is that right? I just never realized it. I guess I never looked to see who's behind the wheel, but I just assumed it was a man's business, but obviously.
Women, they're either, Rob, they're either owning the truck or they're driving that truck. A lot of them are
Really?
driving. Like I belong to
Interesting.
some groups on Facebook, and women are showing off in this business. You're not going to be able to stop us.
It's
We're
good.
taking over.
Well,
Don't get mad. Don't get mad, but we're taking over.
what sort of, so I get emails from people that have seen your podcast before.
Mhm.
And a lot of account managers out there thinking about dipping their toe in doing sales. So, not just trucking, but overall, transitioning from an account manager to a producer. What sort of advice would you give people that are thinking about doing it, and maybe some obstacles you've had to overcome, maybe some tips?
I just think they need to do their research. Find out, like for me, I went on, I had an underwriter walk me through the FMCSA website where I could pull up inspections, and I found where I can chat with the individual, with reps from there. And I've actually told my truckers, if you want me to show you how to get on and chat with these people about your account, I'll be happy to do. I'll do it for you, or I'll show you how to do it.
Wow.
But I think that you need to know your business. If you choose an industry, know it inside out.
Yeah. I think you're right.
involved.
In my recruiting business, so the producers that make all the money. Now, there are a few exceptions, but I would say 9 out of 10 producers who make a lot of money selling insurance. And I'm talking about, they're making $250,000 plus. Okay. Most of these guys and gals specialize in an industry, like they specialize in real estate, construction. As I'm ticking off these industries, I'm thinking of like 2 or 3 producers that I know who dominate these sectors, like construction. There's like 2 guys and a gal I'm thinking of: real estate, property, nonprofits, transportation, trucking, healthcare, associations, just, retail, contractors. So these are all industry niches. And I think what you're talking about is the same thing I'm seeing, is that if you're going to be a producer in commercial lines, particularly employee benefits is different, but commercial lines, you've got to be focused and the subject matter expert in that industry.
Yes.
As you said, if you're doing trucking, you better understand truckers, the mentality, the obstacles, the trouble that they can get into, safety issues. I agree with that 100%. So the first one is concentrate on an industry. Any others?
Yeah.
Kim? Any other advice on, like, how to overcome obstacles or rejection? I'm sure you have to deal with that. And there's probably a lot of people that are in service and support that are maybe a little bit introverted. They get their feelings hurt maybe or something. I'm thinking maybe for some of them, sales just isn't the right thing, because you got to take rejection, right?
You got to take rejection. You got to realize that you're not the only agent out there that's, vying for their business. And when a trucker applies for a DOT, somebody's getting a list, because every trucker I talk to, they're like, man, I'm getting 1 million calls a day, and I'm, and I can't take all of this. So you have to find a way to stand out.
Yeah.
Like for me, texting sometimes is easier for a trucker, because they can, they're driving constantly and they can't like pick up the phone or, they can't, unless they have something hands-free, they're not going to be able to talk on the phone or text.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah,
And you got to understand that they have certain windows when they take breaks from driving, because their hours are being watched. You got to be ready. You got to be ready and willing to do the work to be in that industry. You can't just write a policy because somebody called up and you have no idea what they need, because you have potential to write covers that they don't need that will cause their policy to go up unnecessarily. And money is important in this business. They're trying to make money, but insurance is one of the more expensive tickets
yeah,
that they'll have. So you just have to, if that's my major piece of advice, is know your industry in and out. Know
got
what
it.
it takes to be, make yourself available, and you got to rise above all the other people, because they're looking for somebody they can trust, because they're trusting you to basically run that business portion of their business, because they're driving. They don't have time to.
Got it. So Kim Smith, so how do people get a hold of you? I'm sure there's people out there that want to get a hold of you, you know? I mean,
Sure.
there's probably truckers listening to this. This thing goes out to tens of thousands of people. So I'm sure there's going to be truckers out there listening or watching us right now. It's available on podcast too. But, you know, how do people get a hold of you? And tell us about the firm that you work for, Morgan Merrill.
Well, I work for Morgan Merrill. I've been here since September. They've been in business since 1907. We have longevity with employees here. We've got 2 people that are retiring that have been here for 42 to 45 years.
Wow. Wow.
Have commitment issues, so that's impressive to me.
I'm not even that old.
Huh?
I'm not even that old.
Yeah, it's a very, very good company. Stuart, Mike, and Ned are wonderful people. They believe in me, which I appreciate. I've introduced them to trucking, and so they're allowing me to take control of this. And I'm teaching them as we go.
That's good.
But if you need to reach me, my office number is 757-232-2216. And I also have my cell phone available for truckers. So when you call, have questions and stuff, because their hours are not going to be 9 to 5 hours. So
Right.
I make myself available through my cell phone if they need or have an issue that they need to talk about. If they have a driver that they're considering, and we run MVRs for them, you know, that's also, they can hit me up at night and I will try to get them find out what the person that they're about to hire, what their driving record looks like, so they're not putting their company's hand into somebody who doesn't know how to drive.
And what is your cell number?
My cell phone is 703-677-2005.
Okay, good. And then if they want to reach you by email?
My email is kims@morganmerrow.com.
Good, fantastic. I'm really happy for you. You're doing great. If I know of any truckers, I'm going to send them over.
Please do.
I'd like to get behind one of those 18-wheeler rigs and see what I could do with it, actually. I'd probably jackknife that thing on I-95 South and cause a 3-day delay.
Yeah,
north
don't
and
have
south.
people mad at you, Rob.
Yeah, I don't want to
Don't.
do that. Anyways, thanks a lot, Kim. I appreciate you being on the show again. I'm sure
Certainly.
I'm going to get another barrage of emails, so I'll keep you posted. Maybe we'll check in 6 months from now. I'm sure by then you'll be.
Please send them my
I'm sure-
way.
Yeah, and you stay off that CB radio.
I will.
right,
I'm going to
Kim.
get that BMW convertible that we talked about. That's 650. That's when
That-
you'll see me.
That's exactly right. All right, Kim, thanks very much for being on the show, and we'll talk soon. And for everybody out there, we'll see you soon. Everybody stay safe.